Ever tried negotiating a business deal while a toddler screams because their banana is, too yellow? Yeah, we know that struggle. Welcome to the Rising Parent Podcast. Today's episode is Balancing Remote Work and Active Parenting. I'm Tim.
And I'm Edna.
We're your hosts, childcare professionals and parenting coaches.
Navigating the work-from-home life with kids around is no joke. It's a delicate dance of muting Zoom calls, rationing snacks, and trying to keep your sanity. Today, we're sharing tailored strategies to help you set boundaries, ditch the guilt, and actually get things done. Let's dive in.
Oh man, working from home. It's a whole different beast, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Remember when working from home sounded like this luxurious vacation? I'll just sit in my pajamas with a hot cup of coffee and type away. And then reality hits.
Right. The reality is you're typing with one hand, holding a baby with the other, and using your foot to push a toy truck back and forth. It's intense. And before we really get into the weeds today, just a quick transparent reminder, we do use affiliate links in our show notes for products we recommend. It just helps support the show, and we only mention things we truly love and recommend to the families we coach.
Exactly. And this topic of balancing remote work and active parenting comes up in our coaching sessions practically every single week. Parents are just exhausted. They're trying to be 100% the perfect employee and 100% the perfect parent at the exact same time. And spoiler alert, you can't do both simultaneously.
You really can't. It's mathematically impossible. And I think that's where the massive wave of guilt comes from. You feel guilty when you're working because you're ignoring your kids, and then you feel guilty when you're with your kids because you're ignoring your inbox. It's this vicious cycle.
The guilt is so heavy. I see this especially with the parents navigating those early sleep-deprived months. I was working with a family recently. Let's call them the Smiths for privacy reasons. And the mom had just transitioned back to working remotely. Her baby was about 6 months old. She was constantly on the verge of tears in our sessions because she felt like she was failing everyone.
Wow, yeah, that transition is brutal. How did you guide her through that? Because a lot of people think, the baby just sleeps all day. It should be easy.
Right? Such a myth. Babies need constant engagement when they're awake. So with the Smiths, for privacy reasons, we had to throw the perfect schedule out the window. We worked on what I call pocket working, basically syncing her deep focus tasks with the baby's most reliable sleep windows and saving the mindless tasks like clearing out emails or organizing spreadsheets when the baby was awake and playing on the floor next to her.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about managing your energy, not just your time.
Exactly. And we also introduced independent playstations, even for a 6-month-old. We set up little zones in her home office. When the baby got a bit older, moving into the toddler stage, we heavily recommended the Magnetiles 100-piece clear color set. Honestly, those magnetic tiles are absolute lifesavers.
Oh, Magnetiles are the best.
They really are. They keep kids engaged for so long because it's open-ended play. The child can build a castle, knock it down, build a rocket ship, all while you're sitting 2 feet away finishing a report. It bridges that gap between being physically present but mentally focused on your work.
That's a great strategy. And looking at the behavioral side of things, toddlers and older kids really struggle with the concept of working from home because it's abstract. To them, mom or dad is physically right there in the living room. Why can't they play?
Yes, they just see you. They don't see the laptop screen as a barrier.
Right, and that creates major communication breakdowns. I remember back when we operated the daycare, we had this one little guy, let's call him Leo for privacy reasons.
Oh, I remember him. So sweet.
Super sweet kid, but his mom worked from home, and she would occasionally pop into the daycare during her lunch break just to say hi and give him a hug.
Which is lovely in theory.
In theory, yes, but in practice, it was a disaster for Leo because when she left to go back to her home office, Leo would have a complete meltdown. From his perspective, mom was here, and then mom abandoned him again. The transition was too blurry. We had to work with her to realize that for children, boundaries need to be exceptionally clear.
That is such a good point. Blurry boundaries create anxiety for kids.
Exactly, and it's the same thing when you are in your house. If your home office is the kitchen table, your kids don't know when you're at work and when you're at home. So in our coaching, I always emphasize visual boundaries.
Oh, tell them about the hat trick.
Yes, the hat trick. I was working with a family. We'll call them the Jenkins for privacy reasons. They lived in a small apartment, no dedicated home office. So the dad started wearing a very specific bright red baseball cap when he was on the clock. He told his kids, when dad is wearing the red hat, he is at work and cannot be disturbed unless it's an emergency. When the red hat is off, dad is all yours.
I love that so much. It's so simple, but it gives the child a concrete visual cue.
It really does. And to take it a step further, for parents who have older toddlers or school-aged kids, I highly recommend the Time Timer Mod 60-minute visual timer. It's this great little clock where a red disc disappears as time elapses. So instead of saying, "Give me 10 minutes," which means absolutely nothing to a 3-year-old.
Right. 10 minutes to a toddler is either 5 seconds or 5 years.
Exactly. You set the timer and say, when the red is all gone, I will come play with you. It eliminates the constant, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" because they can visually see the time passing. It gives them a sense of control and predictability.
Predictability is huge. When kids know what to expect, their behavior drastically improves.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's take a quick pause right here for a second.
Sure thing. Listeners, we just want to quickly remind you that new episodes of the Rising Parent podcast drop every Monday and Friday. We show up twice a week to support you on your parenting journey.
Yes, we do, and we also want to mention something really close to our hearts. We created this podcast not just to help families with parenting, but also to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
That's right. If you are finding value in this episode or any of our episodes, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach. You can do that by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. We're so passionate about this cause, and your support means the world to us. We'll also have a link to Selfless Outreach provided right down in the show notes for you.
All right, getting back to it, we've talked about visual cues and independent play, but let's talk about the partner dynamic. Because when both parents are working from home, it can either be a beautiful synchronized swimming routine or a complete train wreck.
Usually a train wreck, at least at first. The resentment can build up so fast. I see it all the time. One parent feels like they are taking on 80% of the child interruptions, while the other parent just gets to sit in their office with the door closed.
Oh yeah, the default parent syndrome. I was working with a couple recently. Let's use the pseudonyms Mark and Sarah for privacy reasons. They came to our coaching sessions because they were constantly arguing. Both worked remotely, but Sarah was getting interrupted 10 times a day, and Mark was oblivious.
It's so common. How did you help them restructure that?
It came down to rigid, agreed-upon shifts. We had them sit down every Sunday night and look at their calendars. They mapped out who was on call for the kids during specific hours. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Mark was on call. If the kids needed a snack, had a meltdown, or painted the dog, it was Mark's problem. Sarah was dead to the world.
I love that, dead to the world.
Literally. And to make it work, I suggested they invest in some serious audio boundaries. I always recommend the Sony WH-1000 XM5 noise-canceling headphones. When Sarah had her headphones on, she wasn't just blocking out the noise of the kids. It was a physical signal to Mark that he was the primary caregiver at that moment. She couldn't hear the crying, which meant she couldn't rush in to rescue him, which forced Mark to step up and handle the parenting moments.
That is so vital, because as mothers especially, our ears are biologically tuned to our children's cries. Even if we logically know our partner has it handled, hearing that cry spikes our cortisol and pulls our focus away from work. Those noise-canceling headphones are a game changer for preserving your mental space.
Exactly. It forces the partner to truly take over. It stopped the resentment dead in its tracks for Mark and Sarah, for privacy reasons, of course. They realized they had to act like teammates, not just roommates who happened to have kids.
That tag teaming approach is brilliant. And another thing I want to bring up is the concept of quality time when you work from home. Parents feel so guilty that they aren't taking their kids to the park at 10 a.m. or doing lavish crafts all day.
The Pinterest perfect mom guilt.
Yes, the pressure is unreal. But from my experience working with families in those early years, kids don't need elaborate, Pinterest-worthy activities to feel loved and secure. They just need focused, undivided attention, even in short bursts.
The attention buckets, right?
Exactly. A child's attention bucket is a lot smaller than we think, but it springs a leak easily. If you can give your child 15 minutes of completely undistracted, phone-down, eye contact-heavy play, that fills their bucket. Then they are much more likely to go play independently for the next 45 minutes while you hop on a conference call.
That's a really profound point. Back when we ran the daycare, we used to see this all the time. The parents who lingered at drop-off while scrolling on their phones had kids who clung to their legs and cried. But the parents who got down on one knee, made eye contact, gave a big hug and said a clear, loving goodbye, those kids transitioned to play almost immediately.
It's all about the quality of the connection, not the quantity of the minutes. If you are sitting next to your child for 3 hours, but you're stressed, frantically typing, and constantly saying, "Not now, mommy's busy," their bucket is empty. They feel ignored.
Yeah, that negative attention loop starts kicking in. When kids feel ignored, they will act out. Because from a behavioral standpoint, to a child, negative attention is better than no attention at all.
Ooh, say that again, Tim. That is so important for parents to hear.
To a child, negative attention is better than no attention at all. If knocking over a glass of water gets Dad to finally look away from his laptop and yell, well, mission accomplished. Dad is looking at me.
Wow, yes, and that's exactly why those 15-minute bursts of positive, proactive attention are a lifesaver for remote working parents. Fill the bucket before they act out.
I remember a mom we worked with in a coaching session. Let's call her Amanda for privacy reasons. She was dealing with a 4-year-old who would constantly interrupt her Zoom meetings. We implemented a strategy where 15 minutes before any major meeting, Amanda would do special time. No phones, no screens, just 15 minutes of whatever the child wanted to play.
Let me guess, it worked?
Like a charm. The child felt so seen and valued that when Amanda finally said, "Okay, mommy has to do a meeting now, here is your coloring book," the kid was totally fine. The behavioral issues plummeted.
That is just wonderful. It shows so much grace for both the parent and the child. Because let's be real, the child didn't ask for the living room to become a corporate office. They're navigating this weird dynamic just as much as we are.
Absolutely. They're just doing their best with the tools they have.
Which is why, as parents, we have to regulate our own emotions first. When your kid interrupts you for the 5th time, it is so easy to snap. You're stressed about a deadline, your boss is emailing you, and your toddler wants a juice box. You just want to explode.
Oh, the internal boiling point. We've all been there.
We have. But when we snap, we escalate the situation. Now you have a crying toddler and you still have your deadline. So a huge part of our coaching with families is teaching self-regulation. Take a deep breath, acknowledge your frustration internally, but respond to your child with calm firmness. I see you want juice. I am working right now. I will get you juice when the red timer is done.
Calm firmness. That's the golden ticket. You aren't being mean, but you aren't caving either. You're holding the boundary with love.
Exactly. Holding the boundary with love. That should be a t-shirt.
Merch idea. I love it. You know, thinking about all these strategies, the visual timers, the tag teaming with headphones, the 15-minute bucket filling sessions, it really comes down to proactive communication, whether it's communicating with your spouse, your boss, or your kids.
That's so true. And communicating with your boss is a piece we shouldn't overlook. I encourage the parents we work with to be transparent with their employers, within reason. If your kid is homesick, just let your team know, hey, I have a sick toddler at home today. My response time might be a bit slower, but I'm on it. Most people are incredibly understanding if you just manage their expectations.
Right. Don't try to hide it. Pretending you don't have kids while working from home is a recipe for a massive burnout. You aren't fooling anyone when they hear Bluey playing in the background of your conference call anyway.
So true. Just embrace the chaos, set your boundaries, and give yourself a ridiculous amount of grace.
Grace is the key ingredient. There will be days where the schedule falls apart. There will be days where the kids eat cereal for lunch and watch a little too much TV so you can hit a deadline. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. You are doing a great job.
You really are. No one has this perfectly figured out, no matter what their Instagram feed looks like.
All right, let's wrap this up with some clear key takeaways for our listeners to take into their work week.
Sounds good. Takeaway number 1, ditch the myth of multitasking. You cannot fully work and fully parent at the same time. Try pocket working, syncing your deep focus tasks with naps and doing lighter tasks when the kids are awake.
Number 2, establish clear visual boundaries. Children are concrete thinkers. Use a physical cue, like a hat, or use the Time Timer Mod 60-minute visual timer so they can physically see when you will be available.
Takeaway number 3, tag team with your partner if they are home. Set up rigid on-call shifts and use physical barriers like the Sony WH-1000XM5 noise-canceling headphones to enforce those shifts and prevent the default parent resentment.
And finally, number 4, fill their attention buckets proactively. Give your child 15 minutes of undistracted, dedicated play before you need to jump into deep work. Proactive, positive attention drastically reduces negative, attention-seeking behaviors later.
I love those. Such actionable, practical steps to make the work-from-home life a little less chaotic.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. We want to thank you all so much for tuning in to the Rising Parent Podcast.
Yes, thank you for being here with us. If you found this episode helpful, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out. We release new episodes every Monday and Friday, showing up twice a week to help your family thrive.
And if you have a minute, leaving us a 5-star review really helps the show reach more parents who might be struggling. Also, head over to our show notes where you can find links to all the Amazon products we mentioned today.
And finally, just one more reminder about our nonprofit, Selfless Outreach. We started this podcast to support families and to raise funds for our mobile food bank. If you learned something valuable today, please consider paying it forward by donating at selflessoutreach.org. Your donation helps us serve the underserved in our community. The link is right there in the show notes.
Every little bit helps. Thanks again for listening, parents. Remember, you're not alone in this, and you are doing better than you think. Keep showing up with confidence and grace.
We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
See ya!